Hi, my name is Ben West. I'm a graduate from the class of 2015, and I'm going to share with you a little bit of my story and some of the insights and challenges that I've faced with projects over the years. So I actually started at JP Catholic as a production emphasis student, and I wanted to be a director. And I was on that track for about 2 years until I discovered that I really wasn't any good at it, and I didn't enjoy it either. Everything clicked into place for me when I took this one class called Designing for the Screen. It gave me a graphic design toolkit that I was able to pull from to evoke a lot of the similar things that drew me to film, creating emotion, telling a story. And it really became the first craft that I felt compelled to pursue outside of class. Learning the program After Effects, learning Photoshop and Illustrator, those were things that we would get a lesson, and I couldn't wait to go do the homework. So I've been working as a motion designer for the last 5 years, and it all started the quarter after I took Designing for the Screen. I approached the professor about whether or not they offered internships. He said yes. So following quarter, I started interning with Drive Studio. The studio he owned, a broadcast design studio, which came with some incredible learning experiences. And I interned there from the time after I took the class till I graduated. So then after graduation, I found a job at a defense contractor named BAE Systems and worked there for 2 years. And then after the 2 years working with them, I moved my family to Cincinnati to work at Dynamic Catholic. And then in October of 2019, I left my job at Dynamic Catholic to freelance full-time as a motion designer. So let's take a second and jump into some of the projects that I worked on. So this first project is called Soul Bath, and it was the second in a series of 3 baptism prep videos that we produced at Dynamic Catholic. Dynamic Catholic's approach has always been to engage the unengaged and to speak to the people who may be in a church setting but are somehow missing the message. Because again, motion graphics it has that ability to break down those complex ideas since you're communicating them with images and visuals. So one of the decisions I made early on was to depict the characters as spheres, because character animation is incredibly complex, and to get it to look natural, it requires a lot of time. So it was something that we could have done if there were a reason that we needed it to be a character that looked a certain way. Getting the sort of mother and daughter figure as circles influenced the aesthetic of the rest of it. So they were very flat, which meant that the rest of the color palette was going to be very simple. So it's kind of like a Google palette where you've got your blue, your red, your green, and your yellow. So you start in this bedroom as the mom is putting this child to bed, and they start asking questions about what baptism is. And then you go into this world of the child's imagination, and everything sort of breaks open from there. So that gave me the creative freedom to really depict whatever I wanted, because it was all happening in this child's imagination. We felt it was important to include the key words. There's the 5 sacramental signs and what each of those meant. And so we numbered them, because having that text on the screen with a number right before they see the image is another way to really drive the point home and connect those thoughts in their mind. These are the words that feel very perhaps churchy, and we may understand at a glance but not deeply, to incorporate those into the vernacular of what we were talking about. So Revive Parishes is a nonprofit that's kind of like a parish masterclass that helps educate parish staff and parish workers on key aspects of ministry. And so I was approached by the CEO to basically be the go-to motion graphics guy. So in the initial design phase, I was able to take the branding guide and the sort of the branding elements to develop some of what these different key graphics would look like. That's such an important thing for a creative to have, is to know where you can and can't go, because so often the blank page is the hardest part, and limitations are oftentimes the most conducive creative barriers. So if a creative is a horse, they just need to know where the bounds of the corral are, but they can run around as fast as they want and jump as high as they want within that corral. Finding the parameters creatively that you can set down to be like, this is where I can go crazy, helps you from just looking at the field and going like, I don't even know where to go. So receiving that sort of initial design was very fruitful, because it said it needs to be within this box. And then I said, awesome. And I just had lots of fun jumping around in that pasture. So thanks so much for listening and for tuning in. I hope this was helpful for you, that you were able to get something from it, and good luck on your journey.
I think I create because it's an important natural part of my life. You know, if you skip breakfast or even lunch sometimes, you know, you feel bad. And I look back on some days and I think, oh, I didn't draw or I didn't do anything creative. And yeah, it feels like I skipped a meal. The best advice that I